Greetings, greetings, family. We are live and direct. What a show we've got lined up for you today, family. Certainly hope that you're going to be staying with us throughout the evening. We are looking forward to a fantastic, bombastic show again tonight. I've got some heavyweights in the house. As you can see, we've already got Dr. Abu in the house. We've already got Brother Jammers in the house. We've got a new king that you're looking at in the house, our brother Andrew Muhammad. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We've got our brother Leader Mandaka, who's preparing in the background. We will be bringing him in shortly. So family, tell your friends, get everybody on board. You know, we want you to be part of the show today. What an awesome show it's going to be indeed. And, you know, if you are already logged in, give us a like on the way in, and also drop us a note in the comment section. Let us know where you're logged in from. You know, we want this to be a global show, and we want to know, you know, where in the world you are right now. So I want to rise up, Sister Afrijamo, who says, greetings, Sister Shanice. Panel, all the African brothers and sisters worldwide. She is an African in London via Jamaica. Waiting for a great show tonight. Rise up, rise up. I know with the guests that I've got tonight, you won't be disappointed. Rising up, Teddy Bear Feet. Great to have you in the house. Locked in from Peckham. Yeah, my neck of the woods from the UKKK. He's saying he's rising up the esteemed panel tonight. Thank you so much. We've got Sister Marcia in the house greeting the panelists, and we've got our brother Robin Rose in the house in Dabotia. Rising up, Sister Verna from the Phenomenal Women's Group. She's in the house greeting the family, saying she's looking forward to another awesome show. We will certainly do our best not to disappoint. Rising up, Cherry B 2020 in the house from Birmingham Strong. Yeah. Sister Afrijamos rising up, Dr. Abu and Jammers. Yes, and we've got Brother Andrew in that. Well, we did have Brother Andrew in the house. But Andrew,
I'm here, sister. Don't worry, I'm here.
Come back, don't go nowhere. We've got O'Shane rising us up as well. Let us know where you're rising us up from, Brother O'Shane. He's bigging up the family. We've got good management in the house as well, saying beautiful greetings, beautiful brother kings and sister queens from Missy. Rise up, Sister Missy. Good to have you in the house. We've got 62 locked in so far. Hopefully we've got 62 likes as well. If you have a YouTube account, you can actually give us a like on the way in. So please do. Hey, we got Brother Kwame in the house. So rising up our distinguished panel. We've got the Jughead in the house. Rising up, Brother Andrew. And we've got Miles in the house as well. The family is coming in. Aga Tours is in the house as well. The family is coming in. Okay, well, as you are coming in, family, I am going to be introducing the topic for discussion today. As you know, we will also at some point be joined by our Leader Mandaka. We'll be introducing him a bit later as well once he joins us. Okay, Brother O'Shane is listening from London. The London crew is in the house. Okay, 63 people in so far, only 27 likes. Come on, family. It doesn't cost you anything to give us a thumbs up and a like. So please do. Lily, welcome on board all the way from the UK as well. So let's get those likes up. The more likes, the more people will get to find this video in their search, and we certainly want our people to find it in their search. Okay, I think we've got our brother Leader Mandaka ready backstage. Just needs to change his title. It's saying Sister Kai at the moment, so Brother Leader, please do change your title, and then we will bring you in. Okay, so rising up our family from the USA. Glad to know that we got someone from Georgia looking in, and yes, we've also got a heavyweight panel for you. They're saying yes indeed, yes indeed. Okay, family, so we're almost up to 100, so, but we're gonna kick off because, as always, we have so much that we want to share with you, and the time always goes so quickly indeed. And so I don't want to take up too much more of the time, and I just want to let you know what the topic is for discussion today, because I know some of you may be tuning in because you're regular here on a Wednesday evening, but some of you may have actually seen the flyer and may know. So for those of you who maybe haven't seen the flyer, let me tell you this, family, we are kicking off a new series of discussions starting today. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on our former greatness as Africans. If you listen to the mainstream media, it's always trying to put down us as Africans. And, if you go through the mainstream education, there's often very little about our former greatness. And that's what's going to be beautiful about the discussion that we have today and the panel members that we've got today. We're going to be focusing on our former greatness, not just today, actually, but over the coming strongs, because there's a series of discussions that's coming. And we're going to be looking at our former greatness from a number of different perspectives, and what it's going to take, in order for us to get back to our former great state of mind, that state of mind that enabled us, to build the pyramids. So we want to go back to that great state that we were in back in the days. And we are going to be looking, where's our brother Andrew gone? We are going to be looking, let's take him down for a second. Not sure what's happened there, but I'm sure he will be back in a short while. So we're actually going to be looking at ourselves as Africans from that position of our former greatness, and look at what steps it's going to take in order for us to return back to our greatness. So the topics that are going to be coming over the next few strongs is going to be looking at our greatness from a number of different perspectives, from an educational perspective, psychological perspective, scientific, legal, medicinal, political, cultural, financial. We're going to be looking at our former greatness from those different perspectives. And we're starting tonight, by looking at us from an educational perspective and the importance of an African-centered education. Hence why we've got the panel lineup tonight that is coming before you today. It looks as though our brother is back in his hot seat. So let's add him back to the stream. Welcome back, my brother. So, John Henry Clark, had this great quote. He said, and for those of you who don't know John Henry Clark, please do look up his works, lots of his works all over YouTube, lots of books out there. He's one of our late great scholars, activists, influencers. And he said, there's one thing, that we need to get through to our minds and keep it there. He said that nothing ever came from the European mind, that was ever meant to do anything but facilitate European domination over Africans. And there's no exception whatsoever. Okay, so we need to get that through to our minds, that there's nothing that's ever come from the Europeans that was ever meant to do anything for us other than to allow them to continue to dominate us, okay, and to control us. And so with that in mind, I'm ready now, I feel, to go over and to open the floor to our guests. And let me do that by way of, first of all, just introducing them to our new listeners, our new viewers that we've got in the house. So first of all, let's introduce Dr. Abu, community activist, volunteer, youth worker, and community counselor. He's also a dub poet artist. He does art in mirrors. He's a designer, presenter, and management on the Big G Galaxyafiwe, the only de-brainwashing station. Welcome on board, Dr. Abu. Let's have a few opening remarks from you.
Well, rise up to Brother Andrew Mohammed, Jamaz, and yourself, and Leader Mandaka to come. Just wanted to pay a tribute to the son of Marcus Garvey, the great educationist, and going on to the ancestors. So I just want to say, you know, we must, as you said, you know, remember those shoulders that we are standing on, and those feet that is coming on our shoulders. So we have to be prepared. Buddha.
Vodum, Vodum, rise up, Dr. Abu. Thank you so much for those opening remarks and for paying homage to the memory of our the son of our great Marcus Messiah Garvey, who has passed on to the ancestor. He was walking in the spirit and in the footsteps of his father. He's now gone back to be with the great man himself. So thank you for reminding us of his departure from this realm. And rise up yourself, Dr. Abu. And now I'd like to introduce to you a new face to our panel, and we are certainly delighted, privileged and honored to have on board our brother King, motivator, investigator, presenter, historian, author, lecturer, none other than Andrew Mohammed. Our brother, the investigator, is one of the United Kingdom's leading inspirational and Black history cultural specialists. His lively, energetic presentations are designed to bring forth life and family. I can tell you they certainly do that. I am a regular at his events, and I tell you, I always leave feeling 10 foot high. The way that he introduces history and culture into his spectacular presentations, just to enrich our awareness of the universal contributions and achievements that we have made to society and from a culturally diverse perspective. We've got to rise up the great motivator. He's regularly booked around the world. He is so busy, but yet he's found time for us today. I am so privileged and I am so honored indeed. And he's got an award-winning book. Maybe you've got your book there you can show us. Free Your Mind. I've got a copy of the book. I've had that book for years, and I tell you, it really did open my eyes and our mind as well. It's an easy read, an informative read, and it will really inspire and invigorate you as well to get to know more about yourself and your history. And, as busy as our brother is, he finds time, to get involved in films and documentaries, and he's been involved in a number of award-winning films and documentaries. He was in a documentary called Is Black History Important? He's a proud parent, school governor, a regular consultant on television and radio to do with education. He's one of the leading figures in the Mayor for London's mentoring program, founder of a wonderful young people's academy called the Westside Young Leaders Academy. I've been there, I've met the young leaders, I've met the young men, and I tell you, family, it'll be difficult to find, a greater body of upstanding young men. I tell you, phenomenal works they're doing there with the young men in the academy, some of them already entrepreneurs in their own right. And there's so much more that I can say about this brother, but maybe I'll get the opportunity to do so as the show goes on. Let me allow our brother Andrew Mohammed to introduce himself to you, family. Rise up.
Rise up, Sister Shanice. Always loved you, sister. As I said, when I got the text that you invited me onto the show, I don't care what I'm doing, I have to be there. And then I got the greatest surprise when I heard the heavyweight kings are going to be accompanying us on the same day. I thought, this is it. This is fantastic. I've seen the visual of the hereafter already now. Bow to Dr. Abu. I can't remember the last time I've seen the brother. But I must say that from when I first came onto the struggle, sister, the brother was one of the leading lights, and it's brothers like that I bow to. It's brothers like that I honor. I'm trying to say, brother Jammers, love to you, my king. Again, another soldier, worked with the brother on the award ceremony. You keep doing your work, my king. And brother Mandaka, bow to you, bow to you, bow to you. But brother knows I have to say this, sister, and maybe we go into it a bit later. I've said it on many public occasions that this brother here was one of the key brothers that woke me up to African history, African identity, and African spirituality. I was a young brother in college days, and this brother used to walk around college trying to attract black people, our young youth, into African consciousness, and we used to run from him. You know what I mean? No, this is real talk, real talk. I was one of the brothers that like, oh my God, he's coming, he's gonna give us the African stuff again, and we would run, yeah. But I didn't know that he knew my older brother Michael. And when they came out and they had an all-night discussion debating the spirituality of African people, they were throwing seeds in my head, and I don't know what their debates wasn't no hour or 2 hours, sister. It would start one day and go throughout the night into the clear morning.
Wow.
And my brother blessed me that wisdom of Africa, and that was my starting into consciousness. So again, this panel, I bow to every single one of you. One love.
Oh, one love, Brother Andrew. Rise up, Leader Mandaka, for the works. Oh, wow, wow, wow. A product of your efforts. And, you know, if you've seen Andrew Muhammad in action recently, Brother Leader, I'm sure you would be proud, you know, to know that you managed to catch him after my run from you. Well, and it shows the importance, you know, of being active on the college and the university campuses where, you know, there's the opportunity to capture our young people and to pin them down and to have these debates with them. Because look now, as a result of those works, Brother Leader, wow, wow, wow. But I'm going to come to you, Brother Leader. Before I'm going to introduce our Brother Jammers. Oh, rise up, Brother Jammers, our etymologist in the house. He is a student of Brother Dougie and Abu Ratata. He's the founder of the Speakers Club, author, DJ, radio presenter, and Nubian philosopher and etymologist. Wow, wow, wow. And he's currently working on the formula to liberate the minds and master our intelligence. Another heavyweight in the house, Brother Jammers.
Well, I think I'm a middleweight compared to the kings that you got here, but I'm really proud to be amongst them, and I like to thank you for the platform that you're putting up. You know, I've been inspired by everybody here, so I'm really looking forward to this. And the good thing about this panel is you've got people who are actively doing what the question is saying. So it's not just talking that's going on, it's practical. So I can't wait. I want to watch this as well myself, even though I'm in it. Thank you.
Rise up, Brother Jammers. Oh, as humble as always, but you know, you're awesome. When you drop the etymological meaning of the words and start breaking it down and flipping the words backwards and inside out. Wow, wow, wow. Lots of messages coming up in the group chat. Thank you so much. Bigging up all of the guest speakers. Brother Andrew, someone was asking for the name of the book, the title of your book, and where they can get it from.
Yes, Free Your Mind. Just think of the Matrix, Morpheus. Free Your Mind, and you can get it online on Amazon.
Rise up. Thank you so much for that, my brother. And when you get a chance, just put it in the chat for the family so that we've got it there on record as well. And also, please put in the chat your email address. So, because I know before the evening's out, people are going to want to be trying to find you to get on your mailing list for your shows, okay? So family members, remember to put your contact details in the chat, okay? And let's go over now to our dear Brother Leader Mandaka. Oh, another outstanding member of our community who we are privileged and honored to have in our midst today. Brother Leader Mandaka, he's a spiritual leader of the Al-Qaeda Revivalist movement and a nationalist, a Pan-Africanist liberation movement person. He's in addition to being a community activist and organizer for nearly 40 years. He's been organizing liberation movements and talks for 40 years. And you heard, you know, from our brother Andrew Muhammad, you know, a little bit of a testimony from his earlier years as well, working on the college grounds as well. So we're delighted to have our brother Leader Mandaka here. He's also the proud father of 4 and grandfather of 10. Wow. And our Leader Mandaka's work is African-centered, specializing in religion and spirituality, education and schooling. African stroke Black history and culture, African family dynamics, and rites of passage. And as part of his spiritual work family, he receives and conducts African modes of worship and life cycle blessings, for example, naming ceremonies, passing over ceremonies, marriages, initiations, etc. If you are interested in any of those, ceremonies from an African-centered perspective, our brother Leader Mandaka is the man to get in contact with. Brother Leader, please, if we can have some opening remarks from you as well, my brother.
Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
Mwari mukuru kuzai muzimu mukuru Tendai Mwari. Mbidzo kuna Mwari Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. Giving thanks and praises, Sister Shanice, for the warm and loving invitation, and to allow me, which is a humbling experience, to be part of this August panel. Dr. Abu, deep respect. Brother Jammers, my beloved brother, Brother Andrew Muhammad. My brother, if I'm responsible for liberating a cell in your body, then I am humble. I give thanks and praises for all your kind words that you shared with the gathering this evening. I think my credentials have already been laid out, so I need not repeat it, except to say very quickly, I bring greetings from the Al-Kebulan Revivalist Movement. We are a liberation movement based upon an African-centered spiritual cultural philosophy called Al-Kebulan Livity, which means living according to the divine teachings and traditions of our mother culture. And I also wish to extend condolences on behalf of the Al-Kebulan Revivalist Movement and Africa UK for the passing over of our beloved elder, our Baba, age 90, the son and seed of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the seventh successor as President General of the UNIA, and served as President General in his father's seat from 1992 to 2004. If I believe I've got those dates correct. So we wish to, as Africa UK, the Africans domiciled here in the UK, to extend our condolence to the Garvey family and to all close friends of the son of the prophet Marcus Garvey III. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Thank you so much, Leader Mandaka, and we are honored and privileged that you've managed to take the time out to be with us today. I know how busy you are. So lots of messages coming into the chat, and Rise Up Miles, who said, just bought Brother Andrew's book. Wow, fantastic. And lots of greetings from various panel members, rising up the panel tonight. So let's go over to the discussion in hand today and the focus. And as I said in the opening, it's going to be the first in a series of discussions that's looking at our greatness as Africans, because, sometimes we get bogged down in talking about current affairs and the challenges that we're facing, and we forget sometimes to remind ourselves, of the fact that we were and therefore still are great ones. And no matter what we might be going through today, we have the ability, the capability to overcome, because we are overcomers. Our ancestors overcame, and so we will be able to overcome. We know that as a race, as a people, we have fallen from great heights indeed. But, we have a great history that, yes, was interrupted by our enslavement and the brutality of that period during our lifetime. But those 500 years is almost, a drop in the ocean compared to the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, in fact, of our our history, the vast majority of which is still yet to be uncovered and revealed. But the great thing is that the panel members that we have in our presence today, you know, are going to be speaking and reminding us of some of our history so that we can begin to reclaim our greatness and wake our people up as to how great we are as a people, so we don't get bogged down in pettiness. And, you know, so we have to do the work to try and liberate the minds of each and every one of our people. As we know, you know, sometimes I say on my radio station, 90,000 years ago, we were organizing fishing expedition. 43,000 years ago, we were engaged in mining. 25,000 years ago, we as Africans were pioneering arithmetic. 15,000 years ago, you know, there's evidence that we invented animal husbandry. 12,000 years ago, we were cultivating crops. 9,000 years ago, mummifying our dead. 7,000 years ago, molding and carving huge, colossal sculptures. And the level of science and everything that we had knowledge of and we were able to achieve back in those days, we're not even at that level yet. But we, you know, therefore need to be talking about the importance of having an African-centered education that will enable us to rise again to our greatness. I'm going to go around the panel and I'm going to go back because I'm going to start with our brother Andrew Mohammed, who is, you know, very much involved in educating young people and I know understands and appreciates, loves the importance of education. Brother Andrew, let me allow you to take it away, my brother, about our greatness, you know, and the importance of education.
Yes, I mean, sister, that is such a fundamental point you're making. As I said before, in terms of the re-education process of our people, the knowledge of self is the absolute fundamental one. Going back to what I said earlier about Mandaka, I failed all of my exams at school. And when I returned back, when I went back to college to start my education, and I said I was running away from Mandaka, okay, and he caught me, and I joined my very first organization was in Wolfram Forest College. I don't know if you remember Mandaka. We set up the black. I don't know if it's the Afro-Caribbean site or I can't remember what name we that was given.
The African Society. The African Society.
That's right. And I remember Mandaka saying, and I don't think you remember. I don't know. I still remember. He said, "Are you going to put your studies, your academic studies, in front of your historical studies?" Because he said, if you put your academic studies before your historical studies, i.e., the knowledge of self, you'll lose both. And at that time, I thought, no, I'll come here to get my exams. I failed all my exams. But you know what? These words ran through me. And I realized that the more I studied self, my academic results were going higher and higher and higher. And that was the turning point of my academic success. Because the more I knew about our history, the more I knew about our African culture, the more I knew about how high culture civilization we emanated from, it made me not only did it make me feel good today, it made me eager to rebuild that tomorrow. Because history by itself is nothing. But history, when you use it as a barometer, it shows if we've done this yesterday, what can we do today? What can we build tomorrow? And so, going back to your point, is the knowledge of self and the civilizations of Africa that inspired me as an individual to challenge the system and win. Because after that, they could not give me an exam academically that I could not just pass, I would totally destroy and smash. And that started that course that allowed me to say, you know what? How many more of our children are going through the system thinking that they're academically poor or they're not gifted, but once you open their minds, and that's why I called the book Free Your Mind. Once you open their minds, they will be surprised themselves of the godness that's inside of them. And just very quickly, we mentioned about an example. Last week we was doing a whole breakdown on the Dogon Empire. And yes, and just very quickly, we know with the Dogons, they didn't wait for the European to sanction their history. They didn't wait for the Europeans to sanction their sciences. They didn't wait for the Europeans to give them telescopes. But yet, the knowledge that they possessed, only till today, they're still finding out some of the information that they were given were correct. They didn't wait for them to be corroborated. They knew about the Cyrus A star system. They knew about the Cyrus B star system. They wrote about the Sirius C star system, which absolutely till today has still not been found.
Wow.
They're literally breaking down the constellation of stars that even to today, with the latest telescopes, they still can't see. And so the point I'm trying to make is this, is that it's only years later we hear about Benjamin Banneker. And we know that Benjamin Banneker in 1725 to, I think it was 1825, so 1731 to 1805, he was the chief planner of Washington, D.C. Not only that, he wrote the very first science almanac book. He charted the stars, the constellations, he done everything. He had photographic memory, but it's only now that they're studying his genealogy. His grandfather was from the Dogon tribe.
Wow.
Exactly. Wow. And so that knowledge was inbuilt in his blood. And I'm saying, how many of our children are from the Dogons? How many of our children are from the ancient Ghana Empire? How many of our children are from the Kemetic Empire? If the more we study ourselves, you'll appreciate, wow, if this is in my blood, what can I do tomorrow? And that's why, and I'll end on this, that is what it really inspired me to go away and create an education paradigm, we call it a supplementary school or whatever, okay, which we're now expanding, because we're shown that the children that they can't deal with in the system, bring them to us, and we'll show you what's inside of them.
Right. There we go. So, Brother Andrew Mohammed, you just ended by highlighting the fact that, what most of us know is that a lot of our children are being failed in the education system. But you're saying, bring those children to your academy. Yeah. And what is it that they're going to get at your academy that's going to transform them that they're not going to get at the schools?
Absolutely. Absolutely, sister. And we pride ourselves by saying we do not push away or decline any child. Any child. Doesn't matter what's on their statement, record. It doesn't matter what the school says about them. It doesn't matter what the police say about them. It doesn't matter whether they've been on the streets. We say our pride is that no one is declined. Bring them to us, and we'll literally work them and transform them to their better selves.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Family, you've heard it. West Side Academy, they're based in the West London area. If you've got a young person maybe not doing so well in school because, the teachers are just undermining their capability. And they often do this when our children are gifted, They take away their confidence and undermine them. But there are ones and ones like our brother Andrew Mohammed, who's part of a phenomenal school, that will take those young people in and transform them. And another in our midst that's also very much in the forefront of education and, is demonstrating by his works, his lifelong commitment to educating children and young people is our brother Leader Mandaka. Leader Mandaka, we're talking, as you know, about how we can restore our great mind and get back to that place of greatness and the importance of education in that process. What are your views and opinions on that, please, Leader?
Tenai Mwari. I think that is perhaps the most important question that we can pose to ourselves and challenge ourselves with. Because when we talk about the educating of our children and our young people, we are talking about the preservation and nurturing of our most precious gift, the most precious gift of the divine. We are talking about our children who, on bringing them into being, they confirm our God essence, our divine essence, because the nature of a God is the capacity to produce life. But not only do we have the duty to produce life, we have to nurture the minds and souls of those young ones who are born to us to ensure that we raise them into fulfilling their divine purpose and their divine mission in life. So this is the most seminal question. This is the most fundamental question about what philosophy of education, what method of education do we use for our children? Let me pray on the wisdom of Mzimu Mukuru, our great ancestors, who said, if the children are not nurtured and initiated into the village, they will burn it down just to feel its warmth. Let me make you feel that for a moment, brothers and sisters. If the children are not nurtured and initiated into the village, they will burn it down just to feel its warmth. And so I embrace wholly what my beloved brother Andrew has said, that we should not consider any child in our community a failure, a dead loss, a waste of time. Every single one of them is a reflection of how well or how poorly we have fulfilled our duty and responsibility to them. Every single one of them. And so if one of them has fallen by the wayside, we have to question ourselves. And it's our duty and responsibility to pick them up. Now, when we talk about an African-centered education, which is the question this evening, as the term suggests, we are talking about a system of education, a philosophy of education that places Africa and its people at the core of its curriculum. It places Africa and its people at the core and the center of its purpose and objective. This is why it's called an African-centered education. Right now, the overwhelming majority of our people around the world are subjected to a Eurocentric education that is trying to place Europe and Europeans at the center of its curriculum, at the center of its conceptual universe, Europe and Europeans. And everything that is great and good is predicated on the presumed intelligence and wisdom of the Europeans and the supremacy of the Europeans. And the objective is to build a European civilization, a European civilization that will dominate the world. An African-centered education will be designed to empower African people in mind, body, and spirit to establish our own civilization, to establish our own world order as a people, to establish a supreme height of collective accomplishment and achievement. An African-centered education is designed to inform African people as to how to build African nations, how to build African institutions that preserves and protects the interests of African people. So this is what we understand within the Al-Kebel and Revivalist movement. And let me just crown that point so we can move on to the next speaker. With some wisdom words from Baba Asa Hilliard, one of our great intellectual and spiritual giants, now in the realm of the ancestors. He said, education is not just for the purpose of becoming bright. Education is not just for the purpose of getting a job and being successful. Education is for the purpose of transforming the learner through progressive stages to become more godlike. Education is for the purpose of transforming the learner through progressive stages to become more godlike. And what do we mean by becoming more godlike? Well, when we understand the concept of the divine, the creator, the supreme being, the fundamental characteristic of the supreme being is that the supreme being is self-created and self-creating. So an African who is educated, remember the word education means to bring out. We'll break it down and connect with the African root as the discussion goes on. But let us hold in our minds that the ultimate accomplishment of an African-centered education is to enlighten and enable the African to fulfill his and her godlike essence. In the words of our great ancestors, Sia ekes sia ek petu neteru. Know thyself, O man, O woman, and you will discover the secret of the heavens and the gods. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari.
Thank you so much, Leader, for that very those insightful opening remarks. Yes, wow. Education is about making sure that our next generation, have the mindset and the skills that's needed to build our nation. Absolutely critical. And to build and preserve our institutions, not someone else's, which is what a Eurocentric education is preparing us and our children to do. Absolutely agree with you on that, my leader. Let's go over to our brother, Dr. Abu. Dr. Abu, let's hear from you, my brother.
Good family, rise up to the two speakers. I had Brother Andrew and Brother Leader Mandaka. Boy, I didn't say it all, but I'm going to say we can feel a slip and grab the one we drop around 2 slips, right? Education is not a badge of honor. It's a purpose of honor. You understand, I wonder if I want to understand what I'm saying, I grew up in Jamaica, where I grew up amongst educated people who look after their people, because at them time not much of them could read and write, but someone was there to assist them and to help them and don't look down on them, because growing up in our village, it was shame to know that we have dogs that come from a village. Not true, that Mandaka. You understand? So we work together as a collective to make sure that the illiterate one be educated. This is the African way. That's the center. If you talk about Africa center, and it all started from in the womb. That classroom, forget about the classroom. Remember that classroom, because a lot of things that affect the youth today out there, it started in the womb. You understand? So if we know the terrain that the mother have to go through, you understand, especially in an environment like this, then that is where our education institution have to be working to counter. There's a lot of things, before we can start to even educate and them things, that we have to do a lot of counseling. That is part of it too. The counseling for what we've been through as a people. You understand? The different avenues them that we can learn from. When we start to learn from our even primary source, that's Africa-centered education. You understand? Because right now, the Eurocentric is not taking us to the primary source. He might give you our third, fourth, sixth, and by the time we catch up, we miss a lot of things. My understanding with certain education, that we have to understand even our young people, the various time that they're going through life. Them said between 14 and 21 is the spirit of courage. You know, a lot of us was between those as young people. And we know what we used to do between them time there. We used to sneak out, Ghana dance. We used to, because it's the courage that we have. And today we have a lot of young people with those courage, but we have to point them in the right direction. It's our responsibility, you know. You know, I am not afraid of young people on the street because I'm Africa-centered. You understand, you know? And this is what Africa-centered is all about, you know? Not walking away from your brother, not walking away. Don't set trap. Don't, you know, Africa-centered is that means that we are moving away from the plantation syndrome. You can't have Africa-centered education without an Africa-centered mind. We must not fool ourselves. You know, some people can come out and can say a thing, but the mind is that's what binds certain things together. You know? So I give thanks to see these supplementary schools, them around, because as I said, sometimes if the man don't catch the ball in the long half, he may catch it in the slip, you know? And this is how we have to put things in place, you know? And when we start to put things in those ways, because what we are trying is to bring out who we are. Them said the best teacher is like a fisherman that send him his rod down the student palate and draw out his raw born talent. You understand? And we see that raw born talent exhibit right in front of us, the children of those people that come here. You understand? For the platform that they leave us. Hey, no university cannot teach us. We don't read about them, we experience them. And that's why we have brother like Leader Mandaka sitting there, Sister Shanice, Brother Andrew, Jammaz, myself, and all, much more of these organizations them that is trying to center our people mind to success. Vudum.
Can you hear?
I can hear. I can hear.
Apologies, I had my mute button on. Thank you, Brother Andrew. Yes, rise up, Dr. Abu. Yeah, you know, education, not a badge of honor, but a badge of purpose. That's right. You know, the current education system is one, you know, that's so individualistic in its design. You know, it's like we're all competing against each other to get these qualifications so that we can occupy these senior positions within their organizations to help maintain their systems, their institutions, their organization, when in fact education ought to be a badge of purpose. You know, we should come out and be looking to see what we can do to help support the growth and development of our own community. You know, if we're living in a village, if we're living in a compound, what does the village need? What does the compound need? It needs lighting. Okay, how can I use my creativity to bring lighting for my village? How can I use my skills, you know, to bring water and water that, you know, pumps to the village? You know, we need to be using our skills and our energies to see what we can do to help improve our living conditions wherever we are in the world. But no, instead, we're being educated to find a job, to work for Masa and to entertain Masa, or to, you know, helping to build his organizations and in his institutions, whilst our own, you know, are left wanting at the wayside. You know, absolutely hear what you're saying on that, my brother, Dr. Abu. And without further ado, let's go over to our brother Jammaz. Rise up, brother Jammaz.
I don't know how to follow what's been said already. But in the words of Amos Wilson, the falsification of African consciousness, we can't let another race of people who don't know us define us. You know, we're not a words. You know, they use words to reference as recognition. We're not words. We are a science, and they haven't fathomed the science of who we are. The science that we have, Dr. Lela Afrika, renowned Dr. Lela, will say Menelli. Their scientists can't fathom what melanin does. If their scientists can't fathom what melanin does, they can't fathom who we are as a people. And we can feel who we are. One essence of melanin is we have the intelligence to communicate with our inner self and our outer self. Melanin means we are walking, talking human calculators. Melanin takes all energies and transform it into creativity. This is what we do. When something decomposes, it turns brown. What does decompose mean? Decompose means when you start to decipher information. This is what we do. So we can't think from the ink of the incline because we become inclinated of the incline. Look at the word ink. Inside the word ink is the word ink. And we think from the ink of the pen, that's where we're penned in by their pen. So this is how we have to break out of the pen and become who we really are. We are energy. Look at the word Niger, what they call us. Take away the ER, you see NIG. That's what we do. We produce energy. As I said, look at the word origin backwards and you see it's Negro. So basically, we are the jinn, the spirit that creates everything. You can see it's evidence, all the music, all the fashion, the sports. This is who we are. So we have to forget about these words. We are scientific beings of science. And once we start to look at this, then we can start to take the first step in utilizing who we really are.
Wow. Vudum, rise up, brother jammers. Wow, we are, the original people we know. Look in the word origin and what we see, spirit, everything that we need. We are the creators, we are the inventors, we are indeed the scientific beings. And how many of our children are being told that on a daily basis? How many of our children, when they go to a Eurocentric school, is going to find out the true greatness of who they are as young ones? When we talk about science, when we talk about astronomy, when we talk about the serious B, the serious A that brother Andrew Muhammad was talking about, when we realize the fact that the pyramids, our great kingdoms, were actually lined up with the stars, and before they were actually built, these days maybe we're lining up our front door with where the sun rises and the back door for when it goes down, and but we were actually lining up all of our windows around the house as well with the stars, and we'd have to be able to see them in order to do that and be able to do the relevant calculations, the mathematical equations in order to do that. We had running water, electricity, we had raised pavements, we had storied buildings thousands of years ago, while Europeans were still living in barns, while their kings, had barn houses for their houses, and the rest of the people just were living in the forest. I mean, the truth of our history, we're not going to learn it in a Eurocentric school. So how, is their school going to be able to elevate us to the heights that we know that we have fallen from if we continue to allow them to educate us? We've got to all take on the role and responsibility of educating ourselves and our children until we can do better and have schools for ourselves. The level of science that our ancestors, were practicing back then. Wow. But let me bring in Andrew Muhammad to contribute towards, the historical greatness of us as a people. Please, Brother Andrew, remind the family that's watching, the show today of how great we were and therefore are as a people.
Absolutely, sister. I mean, you gave the breakdown. you reached the breakdown already, sister. I mean, that was really it, sister. I mean, no matter where they go, no matter what they study, and that's something they've never really forgotten, is that the root of everything is us, and that's something that they know inside out. They know that literally, genetically, we are gods. Yeah. Genetically, we are cosmic beings. So they know that we've got family around the universe. I know that may sound crazy to some people, but literally, we are the original people. And what does it mean to be an original people? Because you see, I love my brother, Reverend Shock Matthews, and he puts it this way: we are the first frequency. You see, and it goes back to what brother Jammers was saying. Jammers, bow to you, my king. That was a beautiful analogy just there. But understand this, brothers and sisters, is that We are the first frequency in the universe. We was that first atom that rolled in that universe. That was us. And when we study that, okay, brothers and sisters, it makes me appreciate we are science. We are astronomy. We are vibrations. And it really blew me when just to know that the people of the Dogon, they're the people that just mesmerize me. They didn't just worship God. They worship the vibrations and movements of the creator. And I thought, wow, they've taken onto a new level. And when we study us as a people, we are people of vibration. When we look at melanin, the word melanin, I like my brother Jammers, we like to look at words. But when you look at the word melanin, you're looking at the word melody. It's a rhythm. It's a sound. It's a movement. And if we don't understand that, we've got to put our children in a creative movement, in a creative science where they don't study subjects, they are the subjects. And that's what I love when I see and I study our history, when you go right through from the people of Kemet right the way through to the people across to the land of Punt, which today we call Ethiopia, the land that we call Eritrea, and so on. And you take them right down to Azania, South Africa, what they want to call Zimbabwe. Yeah, but they we need to understand that there were ancient civilizations right across. And when we look at Europe and we see the great civilizations of the Africans that built Europe, even though we're living in England today, you know, we built Stonehenge. That is mathematically, historically proven. There's no evidence of them building any celestial body or megalith on earth that aligns to the stars and stuff. There's no history of that. This is what our people were doing.
Yes.
And they were doing it all over the world.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Well, where you stop for, Brother Andrew? But anyway, we'll come back to you. Hey,
we'll come back, beloved.
Right up, my brother. You know,
and just to say, sister, just quickly, because I know we got kings on there, and I know that they're bursting, so I don't want to be overdoing myself on that level because I got kings around me, you know. But I love the fact that when you mentioned that when we built temples, when we built our houses, when we built our pyramids, we understood the science as above, so beneath. And so when we built, we had to mirror that which was above. And so our whole science was what was called sacred geometry. We never built just on the sake of saying, okay, that is good, that looks good, let's just put something there. No, everything had to reflect the heavens above. We were astronomy. We were science. We were chemists. And hence you get the word chemic, because everything around us was based on the creator's vibrations.
Yes, 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 indeed. Yes, indeed. Enough big ups, you know, in the chat. Definitely, you know, enjoying the learning here. Rise up, Brother Andrew. Let's go over to Leader Mandaka. You know, Leader, please remind us of our former greatness. Maybe suggest some study guides, some books that, you know, our viewers ought to be reading. You know, we've got to get our people back into that great mindset. Brother Andrew Muhammad was just reminding us we were astronomers, so above, as above, so beneath. When we built our palaces, our kingdoms, our empires, you know, we were lining, they were in alignment, you know, with the stars and the astronomy. Brother Leader, please come in. Tendai Mwari.
May I first of all just give high commendation to my beloved brothers who have spoken and spoken so eloquently and so powerfully and so profoundly. And let me opt to remind us of, you know, not just our former greatness, but our fundamental greatness, because we are still fundamentally great. We still have in our DNA, in our RNA, that which we manifested in ancient times as greatness, that we still look back upon in awe and wonder. But we must remember that the essence of what made us great still makes us great today. Brothers talked about melanin. Melanin, which was named by the Greeks, when you break it down to its etymological root, Brother Jammers will confirm this. Melanos means black. Means a colorless, potent gas, but it comes from amen, which means God. So melanos amen means black gods.
Wow.
So they recognize
Yes.
what they call melanin, which flows from the pineal gland of the African, who is over 80%, 90% of our pineal gland is active, whereas for the Europeans, it's only some 10 to 20% if they're lucky, that's active. This biopolymer called melanin, which has multiple biological functions, which, again, as I said, the Europeans do not have this flow of melanin that we have naturally, and that empowers us so much. It's the evidence of our God essence, and it's the evidence that the Europeans, who oppress us like the devils that they have manifested themselves to be, they recognize who we are. So the awakening now needs to come. Sorry, I need to put my charger in, otherwise my battery is going to go. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
yes. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
Tendamwari.
Yeah. I'll keep talking. Sister Kai is assisting me here.
Wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful. Rise up, my sister Kai. Rise up. Yes. Leader.
The discipline that we call chemistry. Chemistry. Chem is our word from chemet. That also means black. Black land. And the people of the land are called Kemites. The Europeans, when they came to Kemet, which they later called Egypt, they were introduced to our educational system, which blew their minds, which to them was a mystery. And so they called it chemistry.
Right.
Chemistry was our sciences. It wasn't just chemistry, which is one aspect of the science as it's called today. It was our sciences that they were referring to, and they called it chemistry. This is why this European by the name of Francois Champollion, the so-called first Egyptologist, he said that the Ethiopians of ancient times were men. He said men. He didn't understand that there were women as well in ancient Kemet. But he said there were men who think like giants 10 feet tall. Then he said we Europeans are but Lilliputians, right? Which is small, insignificant people. I think we have to understand that when Europeans launch an attack with their weapons of mass destruction against African people and are able to physically overcome African people with weapons of mass destruction, that they're driven by their jealousy of what they see and understand as the supreme and superior greatness of African people. The disciplines of mathematics was first, as you have already outlined, Sister Shanice. There would be no Harem Akhet that we call the Sphinx today, had our ancestors not known advanced levels of mathematics. If our ancestors did not know what they later called, what the Europeans called Pythagorean theorem, we see the evidence of that in the building of the pyramid. We see the evidence of that in the building of the tombs and the temples. Look at the temples that we built in Lalabela. where we drilled into mountains, into hills, we drilled into rock. We drilled out chapels out of rock into the rock, down into the rock, and carved out halls of worship and shrines. And I mean, that blows my mind. That alone blows my mind. It tells us that today we are but a shadow of ourselves. There is nothing in the world today that the world stands upon in the building of its civilization and the sustenance of its civilization that was not given to it by Africa and Africans. They owe us a debt, and that's why the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, said, the world today is indebted to us for the benefits of civilization. They stole our arts and sciences from Africa. And why should we be ashamed of ourselves? Let no voice but your own. That's the African-centered education. Let no voice but your own speak to you from the depths. Let no influence but your own rouse you in times of peace and in times of war. Hear all, but attend only to that which concerns you. Your allegiance shall be to your God, your race, your country. Follow always that great law. Let God and the sky be our limits and eternity our measurement. There are no heights to which we cannot climb without using the active intelligence of our own mind. Mind free. But anything that we desire in nature, we can achieve through the creation of our own mind. That's what we really need to do. To reclaim the African mind and to be inspired by our history. Let's not just be suspended in history. Let's not be suspended in awe and wonder at what we did. Let us be in awe and wonder of who we are and what we can still do. Pause there, my sister.
Wow. Tenda Mwari, thank you so much, brother Leader Mandaka. So much gems there. Like you, I am in awe of how we managed to drill into those temples, how we managed to carve, images that look like us, those intricate images into those huge temples that still exist until today all around the world, despite their efforts, to try and destroy, the evidence of our kingdoms and our cities and our empires. What they were unable to destroy were those huge monolithic carvings, those temples, from Cambodia to China and Japan, all those Eastern, temples that exist that they still use as places of worship today. If you see the images of the Buddha, the original Buddhas, they have African features like us. We as a people that populated the globe, and some of the rocks in Zimbabwe, you wonder how they managed to build and construct those buildings. We must have been levitating those rocks. I tell you, the levels that we were on, we can't even imagine, today. And wow, brother Leader. I just
want to reinforce the imagery of the Harem Akhet, the so-called Sphinx. Just think about that massive monolith, and think about the rock that our ancestors symmetrically carved out this image of a head and a lion's body symmetrically. I mean, just think about that for a moment.
Yes.
And then carve into the rock as well, so that you can go in and occupy that space. Just think about what measure of godly accomplishments that enabled our ancestors to do that. It's still enough.
And also, brother, no, just backing up what you're saying. And also, you got to remember that was a living mountain. That was a mountain. That was literally a living mountain. It wasn't like something they just saw a stone and they just carved it.
No.
Imagine the mind that looks at a mountain and they can see an Harem Akhet within it. It's it's not. You see, sometimes we get caught up on the image, but sometimes it's the mind that produced that image that should be the focus.
And the spirit that drives that mind.
Absolutely.
The spirit that drives and informs that mind.
But also, what we got to remember, though, also we got to remember, King, is that at the center of all of that science was their belief and their worship of the Creator. They weren't doing it of themselves.
Always.
So we got to understand that is the core of our being. Our mathematics was driven by our love of the universe. Our sciences was bound and based on the love of the Creator. Our chemistry, I mean, every field of science wasn't of themselves, was to manifest the glory of the Creator. And I think that's something we need to reintroduce back into our spirituality.
Rise up, Tendai Mwari. I tell you, you know, the great heights, the greatness, you know, of our accomplishments, the evidence of which is still in existence today, ought to be in the curriculum, but it's not. It's been hidden from our children and our young people, so they don't even know and realize that a lot of these great, magnificent wonders of the world were actually created by their very own ancestors. Hence why we need to have our own curriculum. Dr. Abu, come in and contribute to the discussion, my brother.
Budum family.
Budum.
All those great things done on certain principle and discipline. You know, when we know that the man, woman, and child, not today, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, you could never even make a dick stand up with that. You understand? The whole thing about it is a vibration. We are in a patriarchal vibration now. You understand? Where, because those people that do those things, our ancestors, never do it for a patriarchal. We were running on that twin tail principle. You understand? You know? You know, we are running on certain things. All right, we're talking about education. The best educator out there right now is nature. Right? One of the best. Look at the forest. Look at the forest.
Yes.
Many trees in the forest. You understand? Which one of those trees are chosen trees? You know, so if you don't have a chosen fish, a chosen tree, and so how comes we have a chosen people? These are the miseducation that we are going through. And you tell me, which part of the land in Africa is more promisable than the other part? These are the things that we have to come out of. You understand? If you go in the forest, you have lemon tree, you have mango tree, you have, and you name it. But we never say we are going down at the mango in field. We say we're going down the forest. And that's a compliment of everyone that make up the forest. And that's how we are as a people too. But they make us become like an object. And we forgot our true vibration. You understand? You know? It's in us. It's in us. And we go through a form of suppression. You understand? And a lot of things been hold down. But if we start to work with the collective, start to look out for one another, you're frightened to see how things start to spring up. You understand? You know, I don't mean that we cannot become seasonal people. We are everyday people. You understand? But what the whole miseducation done to some of us, we are going to feel lively when pan for them holiday. And that's really a shutdown. You know, that is really a shutdown. You understand? You know, we become like a generator. You understand? That's the man put a certain amount of petrol in there and it run out until the other festive season and all and things. These are the things then where we have to one of the African centered way, we have to come out of the night celebration. We got to come out of the night celebration. You understand? And all those celebrations is happening today when the children can learn of your dance and all of these things. Why you think the children never pick up other things? Because they're not even say we dance. Because we put on more event in the night than program to educate our children. You understand? That is not education. We celebrate more often and don't come to a victory. That is miseducation. That's an African-centered person wouldn't involve in that. We pour more champagne on one another and don't know that we even poison ourselves. That is not an African-centered. You understand? That is the patriarchal things them that play inside of us. You understand? When we can't see our women, you understand? You know, as our equal in certain things. Not saying that, but everyone have their own purpose, and we can't ignore the purpose of our woman, because to me they were the first teachers. My mother teach me a lot even before me, and you understand? And to all of us, you know, we have to realize that the patriarchal linkage, that them of us just a link to man and don't know that we come from the mother, the land, the source. You understand? Because a man can get a jacket, but a woman can't get a jacket, blood. You understand me? And that's why I said I salute the women them in this country that allow their man, their baby father to be a father, because it take a African-centered mind to even reach that goal, and it's we have to support one another to reach certain goals. Good.
Budum, rise up, Dr. Abu, for your input and your contribution there. Let's bring in Brother Jammers. Brother Jammers, remind us of our former greatness and therefore how great we are as a people and the importance of the right education. And then I'm going to go to the chat. If you've got any questions that you'd like to put to the panel, those of you in the chat, please put your questions and I will put the question to the panel member that you would like to respond to your question. But first, Brother Jammers, take yourself off mute. Remind us of our greatness and the right mindset.
As Dr. Abu was saying, we have different mentality, you know, just like a polar bear and a tropical bear look the same, but they're totally different. We go into a forest for rest. They go into a forest to forage. From our forefathers, leaving our young stars looking for fathers. So for us to be free, we have to go back to how it was before. Back to Menelin. We writ the language because we writ from right to left and from left to right. If you look at the word Medu Necha, Necha didn't have no vowels in it. Yeah. When you reverse Necha, you see the word Re-ten. So we gave the language to everybody else. Look at the word Menelin. The first three letters of the word Menelin. The M symbol, we had the power to call. Just by opening our mouth, we called frequencies towards us. The M, me, my, more. So that frequency is not hieroglyphics, it's a hierograph, just like a heartbeat. So when we utter that M word, we knew the science of pulling the energy in us. Magnet, mother, mind. When you reverse the M and you get the W, wish, were, was. So this is the power of vibration that we had. Look at the word Menelin. You see the word El in it. El means the spirit that we bring down. This is in us and it's written in the graph of the word Mel. So this is the power that we have to bring the spirit into us. This is how we do it. What color is power? What color is strength? What color is wisdom? What color is creativity? You have to go into the darkness to pull it into existence. They call this telepathy. Telepathy, tel means tel means distance. So television is vision over a distance. Path, like sympathy, means feeling. So telepathy is just feeling over existence. So I can see Anthony Muhammad, I can see Mandaka, and I can pull that power into me, but it's not emotion. We put it in motion. That's when we see our great ones. we can put that energy and pull it into our existence, and we wear it around us. This is what we call awareness. So we have to get away from this thing about we are words. We have to adapt the science and pull it into existence. And this is what we are. We are telepathic beings that can see something and pull it back. This is why we have to go back to what we left behind. In the word left, which is L-E-F-T, is the word F-E-L-T, felt. So we have to go back to how we used to feel things. That's why they want us to do things the right way. Right means ritual, to do things without thinking. So that's why they make us write everything, because right means when you perform a ritual. After you've written something, it becomes a ritual for you from repetition. So this is what we have to do, get back into the science of who we really are. Forget about the words. We are not the word, because the word is the product of the calculation that put that word into existence. But before the calculation that put the word into existence, it was the energy that created the word. And this is what we are. We are the creators. If in the and I'll close with this. In the book, The Coming Forth by Day, it said, if there's a wrong, who's going to right the wrong? We are the representative of the greatness that will right. So if a child's going to run in the road, who's going to, and you see a child going to run in the road, who's going to stop the child? If you don't stop the child, no one's going to do it. So we were the representatives of our creators. This is who we are, and this is what we need to get back to. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. We are representatives of our creator, and the creator has put that ability for us to create inside of us. And we have to go to that dark place, you know, so that we can get that creativity to bring from the invisible into the visible. Wow, wow, wow. We have, you know, that ability to, well, you know, the evidence is there. Adrian in the chat was saying, Brother Leader, what went wrong then with us? Were we pernicious with each other? Were our leaders, was that prodigious to us? Please tell us why we still haven't reclaimed our lost legacies. That's one from Muta Kilimanjaro. Leader, can you tell us, where did we go wrong?
Tendai Mwari. Well, anyone who knows anything about African history will understand what Baba John Henry Clark meant when he said, yes, our humanity has been the reason, our humanity has been the thing to sustain us. But by a strange paradox, our humanity has been the reason for our downfall. One of the problems that we have manifested in history as a people, because of our nature, the great paleontologists and anthropologists, the great African intellectual and historian, Sheikh Anta Diop, gives us the cradle theory to help us as an analytical tool to understand our nature of being compared to what he calls the Eurasians. Yeah. And he demonstrates to us that because of the ecology of the African continent, it engendered in us a cooperative spirit, a collective and cooperative spirit, feelings of reverence for the Creator, where we also place a premium on the energy and the nature of the woman. Brother Abu, Dr. Abu, is always championing the need for us to celebrate our women, to respect our women, to give our women the highest esteem as they deserve. And Baba Sheikh Anta Diop demonstrates that, by contrast, the Europeans who were nurtured in this temperate zone called Europe, where the conditions, the climatic conditions were so aggressive, it instilled in them a combative spirit compared to our African cooperative spirit, a violent nature, feelings of contempt for God. Whereas to the African, the nature of the African seeks to embrace nature. The nature of the Europeans seeks to conquer nature. So the European, with that violent, aggressive nature, comes among, in fact, it says the Eurasian, not just the European, but the Eurasian, with that violent, aggressive nature, comes across the African, who does not have that same nature of being. We're seeking to harmonize. We are, we are open to strangers, yes? Whereas the Europeans feel threatened by strangers. And so we as Africans came under constant attack. And it can be charted in our history, where we were attacked from the Asians, we were attacked from the Europeans, we were attacked by the Arabs over hundreds of years. Africa was not conquered in a day. It took centuries to bring us to where we are today. And each time we are conquered, we are moved away from our nature of being, our own philosophy, our own worldview, and we have adopted and embraced the worldview of the enemy, which is designed to conquer us and have us worshiping them. This is why Baba Yusuf Ben-Jochannan says religion is the deification of a people's culture. Therefore, religion empowers the people in whose culture the religion is expressed. So that every time we are worshiping according to the oppressed or oppressor's way of worship, we are empowering our enemies. And so within that, we have lost ourselves. And because we have lost our consciousness of self, man, woman, know thyself, we have lost ourselves, then we are more easily manipulated, and they have been able to use the strategy of divide and conquer against us. So that's not to say we don't take responsibility. We have got to take responsibility. We have made some fundamental mistakes and some fundamental errors. But let us remember that we did not just capitulate, and we are still fighting. There are still Africans fighting for our freedom, fighting for our liberation. So that's my short answer to our brother's question. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari, rise up, brother leader. There was a question in the chat to ask what it is you have in your hand that you're waving. They want to know what it's called.
Oh, this is a traditional swish. And it is used in our tradition as a symbol of spiritual authority or national authority. It is used to conduct rituals. It is used, as I said, just as a symbol of authority. So that is why, as a spiritual leader of the Al-Keblan Revivalist movement, I carry a swish, and I use it when I am conducting spiritual rituals and ceremonies. I use the swish. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari, thank you so much for that, and also for that brief presentation there on our humanity, as a people, and how that humanity has sustained us, whilst at the same time it has been our downfall. And as you were speaking of that, I was reminded of the story of Hannibal, that great warrior of ours, and he had the opportunity to actually take Rome, didn't he? He marched his army right up to the door of Rome, and he heard the people crying and wailing and begging and pleading, and his lieutenant to the left was saying to take the city, but Hannibal his heart was softened, his humanity came in, and he was softened by the cries of Rome. And so eventually he decided that he wasn't going to invade and take Rome, when he had the opportunity to do so. But what did Rome turn around and do? For 20 years, they plotted and they schemed and they built their army and their boats, and they came back for Carthage with a vengeance. And not only did they just, murder and kill and enslave all of the citizens of Carthage, but they totally destroyed it. One of the most beautifulest city, from the descriptions of it, that was actually built in the world today. I mean, we can't even as a people imagine the beauty of our cities and our kingdoms that our ancestors built, because not even our artists today have the imagination, you know, to bring it back onto canvases and onto, you know, paper, the designs of those kingdoms and those cities. But from some of the descriptions, it's, you know, we can't even begin to imagine what Carthage, for example, must have looked like. But this is an example, as you were saying, Brother Leader, of where our humanity, you know, led to our downfall. And I've seen some comments to that extent of how quick, you know, we even are today, you know, to forgive others who don't look like us, you know, but, you know, are so slow to forgive our own. Where did I see that comment? Was it this one? Forgiving of the Eurasians instead of throwing stones around their ankles and throwing them into the Nile. Someone has said that. Yes, we took them in, we fed them, we clothed them. When they were washed up onto the shores with their sickness and diseases, we healed them. And as soon as they grew in population, what did they do? Turn around and murder and kill all of the natives. Brother Andrew, you were trying to come in. Please come in, my brother.
I mean, what you're saying is beautiful, sister. Absolutely, and I'm loving your flow, as you know, it's just coming out of you, sister. And as you were speaking, it reminded me of the Moorish conquest of Europe, of Spain, Italy, Portugal, because we conquered them based on science, not just based on warfare. Because when we conquered them, we actually became their teachers of life. We taught them about the sciences across the board. It was the Moors that introduced the concept of a park. It was the Moors that introduced street lamps. It was the Moors that introduced pavements. It was the Moors that introduced eye hospital, glasses, the science of refraction. It was the Moors, they were so beautiful in their architecture and so thoughtful about the land and the nature that they were conquering, that they literally built for example, they built their houses based on the flow of air, the direction of the flow of air. And so, for example, they had an area outside the city, for example, which they may plant certain fragrance plants, whether it's roses, daffodils, knowing that the warm air would take that draft, that snow into their houses, and they had runways, tubes from their houses going underground into various parts of their houses. Okay, so it was naturally fragrance, not killing the air zone. And the point I'm making is this: that even though they took all of this, they never enslaved them into such an extent whereby they couldn't marry, they couldn't keep their own faith, they could rise up as high as they want in society, whatever, okay? And they taught it to such a level, but once the Europeans understood that science too in their Eurocentric thinking, what did they do? How did they replay us? They turned on us and ran us out of Spain, ran us out of Portugal, ran us out of Italy, yeah, with all the sciences that we taught them. And why? Because we didn't understand the nature that we were dealing with. And that's why it's not just about understanding the history of our great civilizations. Sooner or later, we got to understand the nature of the two people, which is fundamentally important. That's why the ancient people of Kemet said, man, woman, know thyself.
Yeah.
And not only is it our duty to know self, but we got to know other than self too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Rise up, rise up. Wow, wow, wow. And, you know, even until today, in some parts of Spain, you know, and Italy, I can still see the remains of, you know, the beautiful gardens, even here in the UK, where they have the Chelsea Flowers show, and Kew Gardens, for example, these were gardens that were made by, Africans. We integrated our houses with nature, we incorporated it into the way that the waterfalls that they spoke of back in the days, the trellises, the high trellises, and the waterfalls and the water gardens with the water features, the man-made lakes that we created, the moats around the palaces, even today, all over France, there's evidence of those great palaces, that they built, that the Moors actually built. Many of them, are derelict and they're just restoring them today. But these these were made and built by our ancestors, and it's just phenomenal. Our history is absolutely phenomenal. Let's see if we've got any questions or comments in the chat that people might want to contribute to the discussion. Panel members, feel free to jump in. This one says, let's go and see, we will see one day black people living in Western world. Nobody will tell you to go back home. And before 2024, you will see yourself, millions of Mama African children are black. Maybe it's the way I read that. We'll be back or black. Okay, let's have a look at this one to do with Hannibal. The Hannibal timeline doesn't add up. How can a supposed Hannibal fight a non-existent Roman Empire? Okay, someone who needs to read up on Hannibal there. Phenomenal history. Brother Andrew, you actually wrote about the story of Hannibal in your book. I think it was one of the earliest places where I found out about Hannibal.
I'm not sure exactly what the person meant by the non-existent Romans, because it's very famous. What you have what's called the Punic Wars, which was Carthage against the Roman Empire, and that's just fact. It's as you know, Hannibal, as you said before, Hannibal is still studied in every single military school on planet Earth. His tactics that he used, taking the elephants across the Alps, is legendary. It's absolutely legendary. And in fact, they conquered Spain as well. And in fact, when we talk about Barcelona was named after the father of Hannibal. It's Barcelona. Barca was literally Hannibal's father. So Hannibal was actually world renowned and studied in military schools all over. And if you want more information on that, just tap in Punic Wars 1, 2, or 3, and you'll see that Carthage in North Africa was the power, because it was the destruction of the Romans against the Carthage Empire that started what they call the medieval period, or what they call the Dark Ages. Because Carthage was the light of civilization that was left. And because Rome destroyed them, Rome became the power. But what happened to the Romans? It was the German tribes, the Gauls, the Vandals, the Visigoths. They turned on the Romans and destroyed that African knowledge that the Romans had, hence caused Europe to be in what they call the Dark Ages, which meant there was no light whatsoever. And it wasn't until the Moors came back onto the scene that brought that ancient African knowledge that literally gave birth to what they call the Renaissance. What is the Renaissance? The Renaissance is a French word that means the reawakening. Why did they have to be reawakened? Because they had no knowledge of themselves. As Brother Mandaka put it perfectly, they were living, they had what they call their Stone Age. They were living in the caves and hillsides of Europe. I'm not putting anyone down. It's nothing to put anyone down. This is just historical fact. And living in the caves and hillsides of Europe, they only had to survive. It was warfare every single day. But because where we were coming from, we had a land of plenty. We could literally sit down and study the stars. We can study what they call the Orion Belt. Come in, my king.
No, I just wanted to ask you a question, Sister Shanice, if I may. I just want to ask Brother Andrew a question. Go ahead. Yes. Before you go much further, I didn't want to interrupt before, but I was hoping you would make the connection between the military tanks that we see today and
Hannibal's elephants.
Hannibal's elephant. You want to speak to that, Brother Andrew, please?
Yes, I tell you something. Just a side angle from that, brother, because that's a good point. If remember, I teach using films. I love movies, and you see an element of that, brother, in a film that they call 300. I don't know if anyone remembers that movie. It's a classic movie. But what it is, they showed the elephants of Hannibal, okay, going across the Alps and taking on the so-called Greeks at that time. They kind of changed their history around. It was taking on the Greeks. But it was the elephants of Hannibal that became the power that destroyed all the European the European battle lines, okay? And also the Europeans have never forgotten that. They've never forgotten that. And they literally studied the use of the elephants, as I said, in military schools, and that's what gave birth to a lot of their philosophy in terms of tanks, warfare, and whatever. But not only that, brother, as we know about Imhotep and what we call the Step Pyramid, they found in the Step Pyramid the Sankofa bird. And then they realized that there's no bird that shaped like that in Imhotep's pyramid. And they realized this wasn't a bird, this was a model plane. And that plane was sent over to NASA, and NASA studied that plane, its diameter, its circumference, and its flying capabilities, okay? And they discovered that they literally used that particular Sankara bird, which is a model in Egypt, to literally to build their latest warcrafts today. Today. And that is based on the Sankara bird as well.
Rise up, rise up. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. You see, there's so much, from our history that has been taken to, create today's civilization. And as we've been reminded and has been pointed out, we were the ones who brought civilization to the cave dwellers. And, they are, still have in them, the DNA of Neanderthals. And it's the Neanderthals, that they have descended from, and that's why they've got that beastly nature and that beastly character. And someone I think was on the verge of saying we need to understand the nature of the beast that we're dealing with, and it's because our ancestors didn't understand the nature of the beast why today our ancestors who owned and occupied Australia, for example, have been completely wiped out. Our ancestors, the original Africans that had occupied America, completely wiped out. The original African ancestors who had occupied Europe, completely wiped out. Those of New Zealand and, other parts of the world, completely wiped out because we just do not understand the nature of the beast that we're dealing with. And if we don't wake up soon, if we may never wake up from their COVID-19 vaccines if we don't understand the nature of the beast and go and take those vaccines. But, that's a whole nother debate. Brother Jammers, you were showing us a book. You wanted to jump in. Please come in, Brother Jammers.
No, just showing it's 100% what they were saying about Hannibal. And the reason why they was able to improve their shipping is because one of the boats crashed. And that's how they replicated the boat and was able to defeat Hannibal. And also Hannibal had the opportunity to defeat the Roman Empire, which would have changed the whole course of history, but he didn't have that mentality to go in there to do that. And so that's what I just wanted to add to that. And I think what we do need to do for education, so-called education, even though I don't like it anyway, is as well as know ourselves, we have to teach our youngsters to know the enemy, you see. We used to be Moors, now they give us lessons. Look at the word lesson backwards, no sell, no selling ability. Hidden in the word learn is the word earn. They're teaching us to work for somebody other than ourselves. So we really need to, they're setting the youngsters up for employment. What's employment? Look at the word ploy, it means trick. So basically, this is the system that's been set up and another word for it is mental side, to create the mentality. Once again, your consciousness means what you're attached to. So basically, it's giving us the mentality to know somebody other than ourselves. And when we see ourselves, we feel alienated by ourselves. So for us to get back to greatness, once again, we have to teach our youngsters to know our enemy. And it's not really racism. They don't like us. If you know someone don't like you, you know how to move. when you use these words like racism and sometimes it's confusing, you know. So just use what they do. Anyway, thank you.
Rise up, rise up. Thank you so, so much. Wow, wow, wow. System of deception, you know, all the way. And what we're conscious of is what we attach ourselves to. This is why it's so important that, you know, we maintain control of our mindset, because what we focus on is what we will manifest as a people. And if they manage to keep us dumbed down in their education system, then we're not even going to be able to begin to think on the level that we need to be thinking on to manifest that greatness that we once possessed as a people. Dr. Abu, do you want to jump in here? And we've got the time. We're only 15 minutes away from the top of the hour, so we're going to have those two gone fast. Dr. Abu, let me allow you to come back first.
Well, I totally agree with all the speakers, you know, because as I said, look how long they are telling you how long they've been doing it. We see what they are doing to the Windrush generation. Yeah, people that come and help them build a place and they turn on them. So we are great people, because when you look at our people in Haiti, you understand, and see what they achieve against these mighty forces. I mean, we have to turn to our African center for education, for defense, for economics, for our politics. Anything that we say we need, it have to be Afrocentric. It have to be on that frequency, because this is what we're off a certain frequency. We're the fitting frequency. You understand? And we give them more energy. You understand? It's like every time that we fight one another, you understand? You know, and don't support one another. What we're doing is give that other side energy back. You know, we may not understand it to the fullness, but that is what's happening. You know, because we only take things from face value. We can't take things from face value. We have to take things from a spiritual value. You understand? A insight value. You understand? These people, how they see things is terrible. And you see, when you're deficient of certain things, you know, see, that's what the problem is. Because when you lack certain things, you try to put everything things that will work, and it doesn't go like that. You understand? Everything have a purpose. You know, see, everything in life have a purpose. You know, see. But the European don't know the purpose. I'm telling you, they don't know the purpose, because when I studied Marimba Ani, Urugu, you know, we're dealing with a people that invoke the spirit of Urugu. You understand? We understand that, then we will know how to deal with one another in this time. Good.
Vudum, Vudum, rise up, Dr. Abu. We're getting information in the chat that's pointing out that on the 21st of December, there's a planetary shift that's happening. We're going to be moving more into the age of Aquarius, and then asking if we're going to be organizing anything around that time. Your suggestions are welcome as to what sort of an event you think would be an appropriate event for this planetary shift. Certainly something that we can look into. We are just 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. I want to thank, you know, everybody in the chat for the contributions that they've been making throughout today's discussion. The time, as expected, has just flown by so quickly. The knowledge has just been pouring out from our guests, but let me quickly go around 2-3 minutes each per person to see if we can squeeze out of them some more, knowledge that we can take away with us today. I can see in the chat that at least one person needs to research Hannibal. There's so much information about, those Punic Wars, Hannibal and his, achievements and conquests. Please do go away and do your own research on everything that we've said today. Let me go back to Brother Andrew Mohammed.
Yes, thank you very much, beloved. It's been a beautiful time here today. I would say, with all due respect to the brother or sister who's mentioned about the Greeks, might be the case. Sometimes we as a people, anytime we come together, you'll always say someone who will be there to try to, when God comes together, know that the devil's going to be there with us. Do not be distracted, brothers and sisters, by foolishness that's written down in it. It's all designed to break up the spirituality, the energy, because all they've got to do is tap in Punic Wars and they can see it for themselves. So do not be dissuaded by the enemy, brothers and sisters. Stay focused. You've got some fantastic brothers and sisters, and literally, man, today is our day. But we must learn from history, because one thing I've learned from history is that we don't learn from history. Yeah, and it's about understanding our mission today. Yeah, we have all got a duty to get the knowledge of self, and knowledge of self, you can't just get it one day. It's a journey that lasts from the cradle to the grave. We never get into a position whereby we know it all, brothers and sisters. So it's our duty to always go out there and seek that knowledge. Link with brothers and sisters who are like you, because there is so much for us to learn. And I realized this before I finish, is that the more that you learn, you realize is the more that you don't know. We can put on a pinhead the knowledge that we all know today compared to what's in the universe. So, brothers and sisters, remain humble, keep seeking. But I tell you something now, we are the winners, living or dead. We're in time of the universe, and the Creator's on our side.
Hey.
Ashe. Brother Andrew, please put your contact details in the chat so that people can get onto your mailing list for information about your shows and events. My family, his events are off the hook. Also, Brother Leader, please do also put your contact details in the chat, for Shamira and the other events that you hold as well, so people can get on your mailing list to access those events. Let me give you a couple of minutes as well, please, Leader. Some closing remarks for us here today.
Tonight, Mwari, it has truly been a blessing and an honor to be part of, as I said at the beginning, this distinguished panel. When we talk about education and African-centered education, we are talking about the war, the battle for the minds and souls of our children. We are talking about, we are raising a serious existential question, and one that seriously questions whether we will remain on the planet if we don't take the responsibility of educating future generations, because it is through our children that we will win the war against our enemies. It's through our children that we will liberate ourselves. I want to remind us of the word sounds of our great our great psychologist, Amos Wilson, who says children learn best when they can see themselves in their learning materials and when they are educated within their own cultural and social matrix. Baba Jawanza Kanjufu says you can't teach a child you don't love, you can't teach a child you don't respect, and you can't teach a child that you do not understand. And in summarizing the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey, he says, education is the medium by which a people are prepared for the creation of their own particular civilization and the advancement and glory of their own race. Beloved brothers and sisters, that means we have work to do, not only to create our own African-centered schools and educational systems, but remembering that all education occurs within the context of nation building and in the context of culture. So we have to build our own nation so that we can nurture our children to fulfill their role within the context of African nationhood. In the words of Papa Garvey, unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Rumbidzo kuna mwari ye Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. Tendai mwari.
Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari. Also want to rise up the YouTubers in the house. African Queen, please check out her YouTube channel as well. The Happy Companion, please check out his YouTube channel. I see we've got the Diaspora channel in the house. Please check out their YouTube channel as well. To all of the YouTubers who are locked in, thank you so much. If you want to ask people to join your channel, feel free to do so. Do invite, the people who are locked in here to subscribe to your channel. Only 122 likes. Please give us some likes on the way out as well. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, please also do subscribe. Brother Jammers, can we get a last word from you, my brother?
I'd like to say thank you for having me, and I'd like to thank the brothers in the panel, and we have to support the people who are actively doing what the question is asking, just like the brothers here. So this is what we need to do. There are actually people, sometimes we talk like it's not happening. We've got people, especially the two brothers here, who are actually doing it. Let's give them some support. And I'd just like to mention, we talked about the Moors. The Moors invented chess, which is also the art of war. Firstly, we have to stand up for what's right. Secondly, the person who plots the course and thinks before he acts wins. The person who uses a lot of energy to capture the least valuable pieces becomes a pawn to be used by others. People who think big, this is what we have got to teach our youngsters. People who think big and go for the king or queen become the owners. Don't make a move without consequences. Thank you, family.
Thank you so much. Rosemary King is asking, do you have a social media details, please, Brother Jammers?
Not yet, but you can find me on Sister Shanice's channel. Thank you.
Rise up. Rise up, my brother. And Dr. Abu, some closing remarks from you, please, my brother.
Well, we give thanks. We give thanks for the gathering of the family, My closing remarks, really, we must mean what we say and say what we mean. Voodoo.
Okay, well, I've got 4 minutes left. It's a little shorter and more succinct than I expected, but thank you so much for that. The family in the chat, they're already asking for a part 2. Oh, family, if you know how busy these kings are, but I've just been so honored that they have been able to join us. They are so busy in their own right. If I don't get the information in this chat with their contact details, I'll put it underneath the description of this show and this channel. This is going to be part of a series of events where we're looking at our greatness as Africans from a number of different perspectives, okay? And so we will be back next strong, same time, Wednesday from 8 p.m. onwards. Brother Jammers, you were showing us a book. Is this a book that you want to recommend to people to buy? Please tell us the title of it. Can't quite see it. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, please, my brother.
The Handbook for Raising Black Children by Dr. Lala Afrika.
Say that again.
That's one there. The Handbook for Raising Black Children by Dr. Lala Afrika. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And also Falsification of African Consciousness by Amos Wilson.
Oh, thank you so much. And, you know, again, I want to thank everybody in the chat for your comments, for your contributions. You know, people are saying it's been mind awakening and what's this, but I can see that there are some dry bones in the room being provoking. Okay, they're the ones that need to go away and do some more research. We understand, we overstand, you know, the miseducation system, the indoctrination, the brainwashing, you know, that we have endured in their schools for decades. It's not going to be wiped out overnight. We are introducing information that some people have just never ever come across. You won't come across this information that we're telling you in the national curriculum. You're going to have to get the books and do your own research. We've got 2 minutes. Leader Mandaka, would you like to recommend maybe 1 or 2 books that our listeners, our viewers may want to buy and to learn more about their history, please?
Tendai Mwari. I would recommend Baba Amos Wilson, Awakening the Natural Genius in Black Children, and the developmental psychology of the Black child. I would recommend Carter G. Woodson, the founder of the father of Black History Month, The Miseducation of the Negro, which I believe Dr. Abu had held up. Dr. Abu had held up a few weeks ago. This is a fantastic book, and you know it's a challenge to the academics and intellectuals among us, because he really takes the whole system of academia apart. So these are the books I would instantly recommend. And of course, always, brothers and sisters, I would recommend Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Messiah Garvey, because that is the foundation of all things. Yes, give thanks for the Dr. Abu. You know, always. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Thank you, family.
Just remember, we're celebrating the life of Dr. Marcus Garvey III, the son and seed of Papa Garvey, the prophet. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari. Panel, Kings, thank you all so much. Deeply honored. It's been a privilege. You know, the comments have reflected the appreciation love that you've got from everyone that's listening. Thank you all so much. More love, more peace, more respect, as Selector One is saying here. We're out of here for now. All being well, we will be black next strong. Stay safe, stay powerful, study your history, get the power from your history, and more importantly, let's learn from it. One love, family. Sister Shanice, out of here for now. More love. More Budum.